The trust fund kid who got humbled on a loading dock. Everyone says money can't buy character. I never really believed that until I watched it happen to Richie Rich down at the local auto body shop. His real name was Bradley, though nobody dared call him that to his face. Bradley was the textbook trust fund baby. He drove a sports car worth more than my first house and treated the world like his personal playground. He'd stroll into diners, snap his fingers at the waitstaff, and complain if his coffee was 2 degrees off. His father ran a massive regional logistics firm, and Bradley treated the company like his personal ATM. Like most guys in his position, he didn't have the faintest idea how the actual work got done. He just assumed things ran on magic, or at least on his dad's payroll. That changed on a Tuesday in July, when his father finally hit his limit. He cut the allowance, canceled the credit cards, and gave Bradley 2 options: work at the family's distribution hub, or go find a new family. Bradley showed up on day 1 in designer loafers and a crisp white polo, looking like he was headed to brunch, not a warehouse floor. He spent the first 3 hours leaning on a forklift, scrolling his phone, complaining about the dreadful humidity. The foreman, Big Al, had run that floor since the late 90s. He didn't talk much, but he missed nothing. When Bradley whined about moving a stack of tires, Al just looked at him and said, "It's a long day, kid. Pace yourself." Bradley laughed. He wasn't laughing by 3 that afternoon. A brutal heat wave had rolled into town that week, and of course the warehouse's HVAC system chose that exact moment to die. The loading dock turned into chaos. A couple of delivery trucks had broken down, drivers were falling behind schedule, and the crew was stretched to skeleton levels. "Hey, Bradley," the shift manager barked, chucking him a pair of work gloves. "Get on the line. We're short-handed and behind." For the next 4 hours, Bradley didn't touch his phone once. He didn't complain about his clothes. He hauled parts, stacked crates, and sweated through that polo until it went see-through. It was loud, brutal, and for the first time in 23 years, he wasn't the one giving orders. He was just another set of hands. At one point, he collapsed onto a pallet, gasping. He looked over at Big Al, 62 years old and still grinding without breaking a sweat. Bradley asked him, "How do you keep going when you're this tired?" Al wiped his forehead and said, "I do it because my family likes to eat and they like having a roof over their heads. It's not about the work, kid. It's about the responsibility." That was the moment. I watched something click behind Bradley's eyes, like a light that had been burnt out his whole life finally flickered on. The real gut punch came that Friday. Payroll hit, and Bradley stood at the printer staring at his check. He did the math, rent, car note, groceries, and realized that after taxes, he was barely scraping by on what most people call a living. He didn't throw a fit. He didn't storm off. He just went quiet. He stayed on for 6 more months, working the floor, learning the names of the guys keeping the place running. The loafers got traded for steel-toed boots. He started actually listening to Al, to the drivers, to the guys on the line who'd spent decades doing the job he used to think ran itself. 10 years later, his father finally stepped down, and Bradley took over as CEO. His first move wasn't a private jet or a corner office renovation. He walked straight back onto that same loading dock and announced a massive, across-the-board raise for every single person on the floor. He didn't just sign a check. He understood exactly what that check needed to cover. That one day in the heat didn't just humble him. It built him into an actual leader. Turns out sometimes you've got to get your hands filthy to understand what the world is really made of. This version runs right around 750 words. If you want, I can also give you a shorter, punchier hookline version for social media captions, or adjust the tone to be more casual/Reddit style versus this slightly more polished narrative voice. Let me know which platform this is going on.